Welcome to Powered by Her, exploring the stories of how area women power their business. Hear from the growing network of female entrepreneurs of the Upper Cumberland with your host, Tiffany Anton, director at the Biz Foundry. Powered by Her starts now.
Hello, you're listening to Powered by Her in the Hints and Oakley Podcast Center. I'm Tiffany Anton with Miranda Brahmer from Blowdry Co here in Cookeville. And you have a business that you started a few months ago now, 6 months maybe.
Yes.
And you offer hairstyling for people in town.
Yes. So we offer blowouts and styles and makeup. So
okay.
You just come in and get your hair washed, blown out, and styled, and it should last you 3 to 5 days or more.
Okay. Let's go back. So, where did you start this journey of wanting to open your own store? Salon. Yeah. I guess when I first started doing hair, it was always kind of had a business side of it that I wanted to eventually own my own salon and be able to create an environment and experience unlike anything else. How long had you been doing hair before you went out on your own?
Probably 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
Just various salons, like full service and blowout salons, and then just kind of doing like on location hair and makeup as well. Kind of like through the years of having kids, just kind of different timelines, different needs.
But you always kind of felt this desire to kind of have ownership of what you were doing instead of kind of just being part of somebody else's thing.
Yes.
And so is there anything that you think, characteristics growing up, that you kind of feel like, yeah, I could see myself as a kid. I thought, maybe I would own my own business someday?
Yes and no. So when I was really young, like my mom kind of went through kind of being a part of a lot of different businesses and growing businesses, buying companies, selling companies. So I was always like on the back end of that, seeing that in her. And that definitely made me have that business aspect. And like,
did that intrigue you or scare you?
A little bit of both.
Yes and no?
Yes. Sundays after the lake, like going to the office and making booklets of different PowerPoints and spreadsheets and paying bills at a young age, I guess, inspired me to own my own business one day. But I didn't know like when that was going to be or how that was going to come about.
When do you think you realized that as a woman, as your mother, you know, that was that's a big deal to have businesses that, you know, she's affiliated with and selling businesses, and especially maybe 20, 30 years ago, that was pretty big. So when do you think you kind of realized like, my mom's kind of really cool? She's doing it.
Yeah. Maybe like in high school.
Yeah.
Like she traveled all the time. She was a part of a lot of different things. It was more than just 9 to 5 going to work every day and coming home with us. She was a part of a lot more than that. So that was definitely inspiring to me to create different connections with people. And you're always networking and you're always meeting new people. And she pushed me to go to college. So I did go to UW-Milwaukee for 2 years and did that. And then I decided that wasn't my path. That wasn't my passion. And when I first went to cosmetology school, it was kind of like, whoa, like, you know.
Did you feel like I'm home?
Yes.
Yes.
I went and toured the school and I signed up that day. Like, this is what I want to do. This is who I am. This is creating my own path versus kind of following in the path of everybody else.
So that's very, very interesting. In the world of entrepreneurship, I've talked about that a lot with people who there's such a push for college, a 4-year university degree, that people were kind of sending out the message to youth that you're settling, quote unquote, if you go to a trade school, cosmetology, HVAC, medical, assisting. But I always say, gosh, those people are probably so much more passionate than somebody that says,
yes,
you're good at math and science, so you should be an engineer.
Yes.
And so finding that passion, and then you're not settling on it. You're really not settling on anything. You're opening your own business. You're an entrepreneur, making it for yourself, where
Yes.
if you had a 4-year degree, and what were you majoring in at the time?
I was just in the business school.
Yeah.
Like, cause that's what I knew. I mean,
Yeah.
I took every business class in high school. That's all I knew as a child as well, with, you know, my parents' background and just different things. It was like, I was encouraged. That's what you did. That's what you do. And that's the next step in life. So I did that and I tried it. But then, when I found cosmetology school, I mean, I was working full time, going to school full time. And then I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. Like, that was just my passion.
Yeah. Did it almost feel like a weight off your shoulders? Like I said, like, I'm home. This is it. This
Yes.
is where I'm supposed to be.
Absolutely.
So where, you know, when you were in school, do you think you really felt like, I'm going to get this certification and I eventually want to open my own place? Or do you think once you started kind of working for someone else and thought, I could see myself doing what they're doing, having my own salon and having my own place?
Definitely when I was in school, I was still very interested in the business aspect. Like, I, you know, wanted to soak all of that up and make sure that I was learning that side of it, not just, you know, the hair and the science and chemistry side of it. But I don't know. I just knew that, like, one day, you have to put your time in, you have to learn from other people, and education is huge. But at the same time, I was like, I just want to create a space that women can escape, even if it's for 30 minutes, an hour. You know, when I first got out of school, I was in full service. So it was, I mean, color and cut appointments, you know, 2 hours. But just, I wanted to be that person, more like a therapist, I guess, just cheaper than your therapist. Like, you can come and get a service done, but then, you know, not have to pay as much and leave feeling even more beautiful than when you came in.
And kind of just, an emotional boost in their day.
Yes.
So at what point did you decide, okay, I'm going to do a blowout bar? Is that what you would call this?
Yes.
So what point where okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it here in Cookeville. Where, like, tell me about that getting started.
Definitely, like, finding myself. Maybe not trial and error, but I worked in full service. That was awesome. I, you know, loved all my clients, but then I kind of got more into weddings. Right after I had my daughter, I loved the flexibility of being able to be like a present mom, also working, kind of making my own schedule. And so I was working just a lot of weekends, doing on-location weddings, and kind of found that niche. And you don't think about that market. Like, when I was in school, we had, you know, parties come in every weekend and stuff. But then when I got out of school, it was like, I didn't even think about that, where that's like such a humongous, like, market in this industry, any industry, I think. But then I started working in a blowout bar for a little bit and found, like, this is what I love. Like,
and you were working in Nashville at the time, was that right?
Yes. Okay. I was working in Nashville, driving back and forth. I love Cookeville, but, like, there's so many more people down there. So I was like, okay, that just kind of, I don't really know how that happened. It just kind of fell, and it was perfect. So
we'll find out some more details in a second. You're listening to Powered by Her in the Hints and Oakley Podcast Center. I have Miranda Brahmer from the Blowdry Co here in Cookeville, Tennessee. And so you decided, okay, I don't need to be driving to Nashville all the time anymore. I'm going to open one here. How did you do some research? How do you even know, like, this could be a successful business here in town, or you just dove in?
A little bit of both. Like, the salon I worked at in Nashville, I mean, we were busy 7 days a week, all day, every day. You couldn't get an appointment same day. Like, granted, the market is different down there. There's a lot more people, but it was either move down there or stay up here and find something. You know, I didn't really know what I wanted to do at that point, but I knew I couldn't drive back and forth anymore. So I just was kind of like talking with my friends, and everybody's like, just do it. Just, you know, you can do it. You've got the right mindset. Just do it. And I love how friends, are these entrepreneur friends or not entrepreneur friends?
Yes. Sometimes those non-entrepreneur friends are like, yeah, you can do it. Just do it. And it's like, but you don't have any background in this. Of course, you're going to be a cheerleader. But
yes. Entrepreneur friends for sure.
Yes.
Like people that have been there, people that
helps.
That have other successful businesses in the community. And Cookeville has so many events, just monthly, weekly. I got to the point where I called my mom one day and I just said, we're going to do it. Like, I'm going to do it. And she was like, okay. She knew that I had decided. You
had to find a place because
Yes.
you had to have a location, a brick and mortar. So what was that journey like? Did you have any background in commercial real estate to know, like, okay, how do I do this?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
That I reached out to a lot of my realtor friends and a couple of my friends that knew I was looking. Everybody was just sending me. I literally looked at every commercial space in Cookeville that was open.
And this is just you. You don't have any other partners or anything like that, right? Yep.
This is just me. Okay. So I was working at the time. So I was like working and then driving around town. Like, where do you want to be? And I sat down and was like, where do I want to be? And what type of space do I want? I wanted to also be able, to afford it on my own until I find the right people to come in and work. But it was definitely a roller coaster because I would find a space and then, something wouldn't work out about it. And then I'd find another space and something wouldn't work out. And finally, I knew I wanted to be like on the west side or on the square or somewhere in that downtown area. And I was just driving one day and saw another phone number and called it and was like, hey, what kind of spaces do you have available? And I knew I was on the phone with him and I knew that I wanted that space. And I just wanted it to be like an intimate, more boutique feel than like this huge salon feel. Like I want people to feel comfortable and like, feel like they can come in with anything.
They walk in and that's home. Just like you kind of had that feeling when you went into cosmetology school that people can kind of get that, yep, I'm where I'm supposed to be right now.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
So I looked at it and I'm pretty sure I signed the lease that day, if not like the next morning. Because
so do you remember how long ago that was?
So I found the space the beginning of April.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Because you opened the mid to end of April, correct?
The end of April I opened, yes.
So how much build out, how much did you have to do in the space to get it ready?
There was a barber in the space before me. Okay. So it was already set up like that a little bit. It was a beauty shop in the 50s. So that's kind of cool with the electrical. Like I didn't have to rerun anything for new outlets or, but it was definitely manly. Yeah. It's not manly anymore. So, paint and
how was that fun? Did you enjoy that interior decorating part of things? Because again, we talk a lot on the show about how entrepreneurship, you can know how to do hair, every single type of hair around, but maybe interior decorating is not a passion of yours, or maybe it's not something that comes intuitively, or the business aspect, doing your books. Those are all things that are really important in entrepreneurship, and maybe they're not where your passion is.
I knew what I wanted it to look like. It was like finding all the pieces within my budget. Like you can go anywhere and say, this is what I want it to look like. But like,
right,
that invoice is going to be a lot more than what your budget allows. So it was a crazy couple weeks. Everybody was like, write everything down. You're not going to remember this time. You're going to want to know, how you were feeling and all the emotions with it, because it was definitely emotional and you're just hoping and praying that it looks how you want it to look when you're done.
Did you keep a journal during that time?
I did.
Awesome. Have you gone back and read it at all?
I haven't yet. I feel like it's too fresh still.
Maybe for your 1-year birthday,
yes, I should go back and read it for sure.
Yeah. Type it up and maybe it's something that you share out there. You make a mini book for other entrepreneurs going through that as well.
Because it's definitely a roller coaster. I had my kids in the car picking up flooring at 8:00 at night because
it had to be done.
My contractor was like, "We're laying flooring tomorrow. Do you have it picked out?"
Yeah.
And well, I do in my head, but I don't physically have it.
Were there times in that time period that because it was essentially a couple weeks.
Yes.
That you thought, gosh, what am I doing?
Yes. I thought, is this is this real life? Like, I'm barely sleeping. I'm barely, I'm looking online for chandeliers at midnight and all this, and getting up and going to work the next morning and trying to. What
kept you going?
Just that, like, I had decided I wanted to do it, and this is going to work. And
there was no chance to give up.
No, there wasn't. Like, I was too far invested emotionally. Like, I could have backed out and said, oh yeah, like, this is just, a little bit of a loss. We'll figure it out. We'll make it up. Like, yeah. But I hadn't really told many people. I mean, my group of friends knew, and my parents knew, and I was just like, this is going to happen, and this is going to be amazing, and Cookeville needs this, and, just the passion behind it, I guess, just that I wanted to create this and wanted to.
Who were some of your mentors through that process? So, some of your friends you mentioned, but did you have any professional mentors that you felt like, oh, I've seen them do this, that really kind of held your hand through the process of starting a business?
CG England was definitely a huge mentor, cheerleader.
Who also was on a previous Powered by Her. I think she was on our inaugural episode. So, okay. Yeah. So CG has a boutique that's kind of she's your neighbor too.
Yeah, she's my neighbor. She also wanted to she loves blowouts. So she wanted it for personal use as well. But she, knows my personality, knows more about me. So she was one that was a huge cheerleader that was saying, if anybody can do it, you can do it. Like, you have the business aspect in your head, as well as the passion and the drive.
How important do you think people like that are in your journey through this?
Oh, they're very crucial. I mean, Blowdry Co. the name was founded on her couch in her store. I would pop in and just be like, it would just be brain purge. I mean, I've looked at all these spaces, I've done all this stuff, and is this am I doing the right thing? Is this going to happen? Maybe I should just stop now. And she said, no, you'll find everything happens for a reason. I
think it's very interesting because I think a lot of the successful businesses by women aren't just whatever the business is. So, you're I want people to feel beautiful. It's like their therapy session, but a lot cheaper. I think that CG's is a very similar kind of aspect that, yeah, she sells clothes, but she wants to impact the day that you've had. Maybe sell you a shirt for a nice date, or,
yes.
And she's talked about, picking an outfit for a graduation party or all the celebrations. And so you think it's just a salon or a store or whatnot. But I think as women, we're so emotionally invested in things, it kind of changes it than just a store or a salon. It's that emotional aspect that we want to impact on other women.
Yes. I mean, I completely agree. And I'm emotionally invested in my client. They're more than just clients to me. Everyone becomes family, and, you want to know how their different events went that they came in for, or if it's a new mom, or,
yeah, you want the follow up for
yes, I need the follow up. So you have to come back so that I can know how it went.
Yeah. So I know you haven't been open that long, but have you faced some challenges so far that were maybe this isn't, maybe I need to pivot my business model, or think that maybe this isn't, I'm not doing things quite the way I wanted to be doing?
There's definitely days that are slower than some. So it's hard to think that maybe I should just be full service. Maybe I should, if someone calls and says hey, do you do cuts and colors? And I'm no.
Yeah.
My brand, but creating that brand, creating that awareness of I am a blowout bar. I do styles, I do updos and makeup for special events or for daily. I mean, depending on who you are.
But it's hard to say no to that. You kind of have to trip up and say, I guess
yes,
no.
You have to kind of physically bite your tongue on the phone and be this person's wanting to pay you to do their hair right now. And maybe I don't have someone sitting in my chair right then. So it's hard to Stay true to
the brand that you've created.
Yes. And my mission that I'm mission that I'm on to, yes, just stay true. It's definitely difficult, but.
Have you hired in people yet at all?
No, it's just me right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for people. So,
and is that, are you like scared about that a bit of kind of opening yourself up to having other people in there? Are you excited about the opportunity to work with others?
Both.
Yeah.
Like all the emotions come out when you think of like, cause this is my baby. Like this is everything to me. So I want someone to be just as passionate and just as driven as I am, but at the same time, like be able to have their own creativity because that's why they're in the industry. So I just believe like the right people or the right person will come at the right time.
Yeah. Kind of just how the building came about and
yes,
how your path has kind of gone that way, that, you know, cosmetology just kind of happened to come and it was the right place at the right time and not just going with what's forced. I think that sounds very fitting for you.
Everything happens for a reason. And that's what I believe that. So
you're listening to Powered by Her in the Hints and Oakley Podcast Center. I have Miranda Brahmer from Blowdry Co. here in Cookeville. What are some words of encouragement that you have for other women who are interested in starting a business?
Just do it. Just do your research and know who you are. It's definitely, I think, aside from being an entrepreneur, like as a woman, just like find yourself and stay true to you. And then maybe, I don't know, the cards just.
Do you think you have to have a little bit of thick skin to be able to start in this industry?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think any like entrepreneur, especially as a woman, you have to have thick skin.
Yeah.
'Cause it's just, I mean.
Not everyone's going to like what you're doing.
No. I mean, some people just come in unhappy. You can't make every single person happy. And as much as, I mean, I want to make every single person happy. I want to make every single person stay better. But
how do you not take that personally?
That's difficult.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of years I did take it, very personally. But at the end of the day, you just have to know that you put I go all in. I put everything into that person. And if they're still unhappy, then maybe they need.
I think that's a really good point, is that if you go all into each person and you're putting the same amount of effort into each person and there's different reactions, then there's different reactions. Yes. You know that you've done the same service act. You've treated them with the same amount each time. And that how they take it is how they take it. It's really hard sometimes, though, when, somebody comes back and they're unhappy or something like that. And it's what did I do wrong? Get a bad review left or whatnot. I mean, it is difficult not to say, well, that's me. Yes. Especially when you're a one-man show. Yes. One woman show. Yes. So there's nobody else to point the finger at. It's just you. So yeah, to kind of roll with it, I'm sure is a big thing that you need to know. Any other advice that you want to impart on others that are kind of looking into entrepreneurship or who have a business that is going on? I would definitely say get involved and reach out to the community and frequent other entrepreneurs and be supportive. And sometimes it's hard to go to networking events and sometimes it's hard to be social after a whole day of being social or entertaining people. But I would say that's a huge aspect of it as well. Any specific advice? So we mentioned the fact of going to a trade school. Touch on that a little bit. Any advice for people who are in a trade school and like you said, your mom really was like, you need to go to college. Mm-hmm. So, or even maybe there's listeners that are 16, 17 in high school and they're just kind of like, I guess I have to go to college. What advice can you give them that if that's not really where their passionate is? Well, the really cool thing about Cookeville High School is they do have a cosmetology program or classes that they could take. But I would definitely say go on university or college visits
go visit your local trade school. Go visit multiple, find the one that speaks to you or works with your schedule. I mean, that was a huge thing for me, was I found the one that I really liked, but I also went like 3 days a week for 10 hours a day. So I didn't have to go Monday through Friday. But I would just say, or you can be very brave and do both.
I think it's the stigma though, too, that you're settling.
Yes.
Like, oh, you're really, really smart in school. Of course you have to go get a 4-year degree. Just because you have a high GPA and you decide that you want to get a cosmetology certification and then open your own salon does not mean that you're wasting away.
No, you're definitely not wasting away.
So, but I think there's that mentality out there a bit.
Yes.
And so I think we need to encourage our youth a little bit more to like follow their passion and don't let someone else tell you necessarily you're good at this, so this is what you should do.
I mean, if you're doing all your girlfriend's hair for homecoming and prom and makeup and all of that already, then let that speak to you a little bit and say, hey, maybe I should, go to trade school or whatever trade you might be doing with your friends on the weekends.
Right.
I mean,
if you're out there tinkering on cars
exactly
on the weekends, maybe you should follow that a little bit.
Yes.
And like you said, maybe do both and maybe kind of go along with the path and see, okay, well, maybe, I do think I want to go to college a little bit, but I want to go to trade and see kind of what leads out. But I think it's so often it's the financial aspect, like, well, to get anywhere in life, you have to have a 4-year degree. And it's like, well, that's not necessarily. No. There's a lot of people out there.
There's a lot of people that don't have degrees
that make a lot more money than I do. And I have a 4-year degree. So
I would just say, follow your passion and just dig deep. Maybe start a journal. There's so many books out there that you can read that ask you different, the different questions of like, what is your passion? Find yourself.
There's a book called, I think it's called What Color is Your Parachute? Have you ever heard of that book? And it talks about the work environment. Like, do you want to work around people? Do you want to work around by yourself? Do you want to work inside? Do you want to work outside? What kind of thing, what kind of skills do you enjoy? And it's much more like finding the career that fits who you are instead of like, oh, well, you're good at math and science, so you should be an engineer. So it's a pretty cool book. Just kind of some soul searching.
Yeah.
So
like, do you want to work 9 to 5? Do you want to have a little bit of freedom? Do you want to be outside? Like,
right. Do you,
I can't sit still. So working behind a desk is very difficult for me. Mm-hmm. But walking around is nothing.
Right. But then some people are like, yeah, I like that consistency of a 9 to 5. I want to walk out of there. I want to never think about that, job outside of those hours. So, I think tapping into what your passion is really important.
You don't want to be responding to messages at midnight. Yes.
Thank you for coming and telling your story. I wish you the best of luck. How can people find you?
We are on Facebook as Blowdry Co, Instagram as Cookeville Blowdry Co, as we are the only blowout bar in Cookeville. And we do have a website, which is www.cookevilleblowdryco.com. You can call 931-559-4247.
Excellent. So they can find you and they can kind of see some pictures of what you do and how you do it and all that kind of stuff. So,
yes, absolutely.
Thank you for coming today. Thank you for sharing your journey. You've listened to Powered by Her in the Hints and Oakley Podcast Center. We have Miranda Brahmer with Blowdry Co. Thank you.
Thank you.